Do you believe in the presumption of innocence, or do you believe in a court of public opinion? It's already made up its mind about Trump.
I don't. I think that this is such a frivolous argument. This is a case where even if you thought there might be some circumstance where a president could be immune with respect to certain actions that he takes within his or her official capacity, this is surely not the case.
What's going on, crew? Welcome back to the channel. I am so glad you made it back and you decided to spend some time with me today by pressing play. Now, I'm actually about to go ahead and dive headfirst into the labyrinth of Trump's legal saga. Get ready for twists and turns and enough drama to rival your favorite binge-worthy TV series. But before we actually get into the show, folks, I just need to say this. Crew, you already know what to do. But if this is your first time here, I'm going to ask if you could be ever so kind as to drop a token in the tip cup by hitting that like button, because your support fuels the journey, and I am grateful for every supporter that I have. Now, let's go ahead and get into the show.
Sarah, and joining us now is NBC News legal analyst and former federal prosecutor Andrew Weissmann. He is co-author of the new book, The Trump Indictments, the Historic Charging Documents, with commentary. Andrew, good morning. So I'm so curious to hear your reaction to this ruling that we heard yesterday, at least this idea that the Supreme Court is going to hear arguments on April 22nd. We know their decisions come down in late June. Then you can schedule a few months between June and whenever the trial might start. We're getting awfully close to Election Day at that point. So first of all, some have said this is just the Supreme Court saying, we adjudicated this, we heard it insulating itself from any criticism, and then perhaps ruling that no, the president does not have full immunity. What is your sense of things, number one? And number two, how long this may delay the trial?
Well, I'm very pessimistic. I do not have the view that they took this case because they're going to hand out a win to Donald Trump in the Colorado case, but here they're going to essentially give him a defeat by saying there is no presidential immunity in this case. Yes, of course, I think ultimately they will not grant immunity in this case, but they have given him the win because the DC case, let's just face it, is on life support now. It is really, really hard to figure out how this case gets to trial before the election. And I think that's the end result of what they did here. So they may ultimately say that he does not have immunity, but in fact, he will have been given immunity because the case will not go to trial before the election. Meaning if Joe Biden wins, the case goes forward, but if he loses, the case is over. I think it's worth noting the other sort of big picture item is any normal politician, any person who was accused of a crime that they did not do would want to clear his name. And so what's happening here is the reason one thinks it's a win for Donald Trump is he's trying to avoid at all costs the facts of what happened that are charged in this indictment, that they do not get presented in court where facts actually matter and people will hear it. So he can continue to say publicly this is all just a smear campaign by his political adversary, and avoid actually having this confronted by a jury to assess those claims that he's making publicly.
Well, the Supreme Court's certainly helping, as you say, Donald Trump's legal team's strategy of delaying, kick it down the road, hope he wins election and can make it disappear. But do you believe on the merits the Supreme Court made the right decision here to hear the arguments?
I don't. I think that this is such a frivolous argument. This is a case where even if you thought there might be some circumstance where a president could be immune with respect to certain actions that he takes within his or her official capacity, this is surely not the case. As Judge Ludig has said and actually submitted a brief, when you're dealing with the crimes that are alleged here, which is illegally staying in office, that is an absolute violation of the Constitution. And so I think that this is really improvident. And by granting the stay, they essentially are saying that he is de facto immune.
All right, crew, in the last few videos, I've been giving you my take at the end of the videos, right? Offering insights and opinions that some people like and some people hate. Oh yeah, I read the comments. Well, today I got a take that just might tickle your fancy or ruffle your feathers, depending on where you stand. But before I dive into the nitty gritty, let me set the stage, because right now it kind of feels like we're living in a time where the news seems like it's scripted by Hollywood. Plot twist? Check. Villains and heroes? Check, check. A Supreme Court drama that's got everyone on the edge of their seats? No doubt about it. Now, let's look at the elephant in the room. Or should I say the elephant that's trying to stomp his way back into the Oval Office? And yes, I'm talking about Donald Trump and his latest circus act courtesy of our Supreme Court. Oh yeah, it's a doozy, folks. So the Supreme Court has decided to hear arguments on a case that has Trump's name all over it. And not in a small footnote type of way. His name's flashing in neon lights. The kind of light that makes you think, should I get my eyes checked? But here's where things get spicy. There's a bunch of folks out there, smart folks, legal eagles, who are wringing their hands and furrowing their brows, worrying that this whole shindig is just another way to delay the trial past the election. I mean, they're crying delay, thinking that it's going to give Trump some type of free pass, a get out of jail free card, if you will. But I don't see it that way. I don't believe anybody should be jumping to conclusions faster than a squirrel dodging traffic on a busy highway. I've got a bone to pick with the whole notion. First off, suggesting that our Supreme Court is playing favorites is like trying to say that my grandma's secret cookie recipe was meant to be diet food. It's a bit of a stretch, don't you think? Now, I get it. The idea of delaying the trial seems like it could be a good strategic move. I mean, after all, who wouldn't want to push back a day of reckoning, especially if it smells like trouble? But to insinuate that the Supreme Court, with all of his wisdom and years of legal experience, is just sitting around twiddling his thumbs just to help out Trump? That's like saying my dog ate my homework, or Fannie Willis saying, it's a black thing. I paid them all back in cash, I swear. It's a little too convenient. A little too simple, don't you think? And let's not forget that the wheels of justice turn slower than my uncle after Thanksgiving dinner. These things take time, people. Trials, especially ones this high profile, aren't like microwaving popcorn. You can't just hit a button and expect everything to be ready in a matter of minutes. There's evidence to gather, witnesses to interview, legal briefs to write. And let's keep it real, those briefs are anything but brief. Now, on to this whole spiel about Trump avoiding facing the facts of this alleged indictment. Look, in America, we're all supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. It's the bedrock of our legal system. It's what makes us, well, us. I mean, this entire notion that the Supreme Court is aiding in Trump's legal strategy of postponement, I mean, that's a bigger stretch than me trying to fit into my high school varsity jacket. The Supreme Court has bigger fish to fry than trying to figure out how to sneak Trump past the goalie. I mean, they're dealing with issues that affect the very fabric of our nation. And to think that they would sideline all of that for one man's trial timeline is to underestimate the importance of the role. The suggestion that Trump's alleged crimes, such as unlawfully remaining in office, constitute a clear violation of the Constitution, rendering any claim of presidential immunity invalid. Now, I'm no legal scholar, but last I checked, the Constitution wasn't a menu where you can kind of just pick and choose whatever applies to you and what doesn't. It's the whole enchilada, folks. And whether you love Trump or you hate him, suggesting that the Supreme Court's decision grants him de facto immunity, well, that's like saying eating chocolate cake is a diet plan because, hey, it's got milk and eggs. The point I'm trying to make is simple. In this great country of ours, justice has a way of finding a path, winding though it may be. And while it's tempting to get caught up in the drama and pick sides and point fingers, let's not forget that at the end of the day, we're all in this together. We're a nation of laws and principles and, yes, a nation of highly debated court cases. But I believe it's important to remember that the truth always has a way of coming out, no matter how many plot twists you throw at it. We're not exactly young, so we've all been around long enough to know that justice does not play favorites, unless your last name's Biden or Clinton. Which brings me to a question. Do you trust the integrity of our justice system, or do you think it's been compromised by political agendas? Sound off in the comments and let's keep the conversation going. Folks, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more like it, make sure you hit that like button and please consider subscribing to the channel. I want to thank you in advance for checking out my other videos. So until the next one, I'll catch you in the comments. I'm gone.